So I recently started recording the process of making some of these pixel art pieces that I've been posting for Sunday Fish Sketch. Thought it would be fun. I like making videos, so I thought, well, maybe in the future I can, make something out of this. So I think I'd just like to, use this footage and sort of take the time to talk about fish and pixel art. I've been recently I've been working on these sketches or pixel sketches of deep sea fish. And I guess that's because I finally found a palette that I think works for the deep sea. It took me a very long time to figure out a palette that works for the deep sea. And I had to learn sort of new techniques for making palettes that I didn't know before. I was watching this video. I can't remember the guy who does the videos, but I'll try to put a link somewhere for those that are interested. But I had been sort of struggling to make palettes that I liked, so I decided to sort of, do a lot of research, and I learned that I was actually doing them incorrectly. So previously, when I was working on a palette, I would sort of do this linear, the brightest colors, those are going to be the closest to white, they're going to be the least saturated, and yeah, they'll be more yellowy in tone. And then the darkest ones I would have being the most saturated. But what I actually learned through one of these tutorials that I was watching was that it's actually the midtones that need to be the most saturated. And it's more of a backwards C where you have your bright colors. Those are close to yellow, but they're desaturated, bright and desaturated. And then you swing over to the midtones, which are sort of bright, less bright, and then super saturated. That's your most saturated thing. And you swing back around for your darkest tones, they're going to be also desaturated, just like the brights. And that's how I was able to create these sort of more vibrant deep sea palettes, whereas before when I tried to do anything in the deep ocean, everything was just way too dark because I couldn't get sort of the dynamic range of having sort of brighter colors that looked dark enough to be in the deep sea. Yeah, that's how I want to put it. Like, the colors I were using, it was all sort of dark colors, and there was no contrast. First fish that I used this palette on was the spookfish, and I watched a lot of is it Mabari? Yeah, I think it's the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute, Mabari. I saw their video of the spookfish, and I watched that, 10 or 15 times to get sort of the shape of the fish, and I finally figured out with that fish I also got sort of, I think, what's a better way to make pixel fins. I used to try to dither these things, like have lots of different colored pixels in there to try to show that, there's a lot of little bones on the fin that you can see. But you can't have that in pixel art, so that was one struggle with fish in pixel art, is that they have a lot of fine detail that you kind of have to erase away and imply with larger shapes. So I figured just one or two lines in the fin, sort of these little curves that sort of show both the shape of the fin and imply that it has some sort of detail to it, as well as sort of outlining the fins, and that sort of that really sets them apart from the rest of the creature. I, double outline the fins just like I double outline the whole fish. So the fins look more three-dimensional. It's almost like they have a shadow right beneath them. And I think it really works, and it's something that I've used on pretty much every single fish that I've done since then. Of course, Gulper Eels aren't really known for their fins. They're not very prominent. Another thing that I've started doing more recently, and I didn't do on the spookfish because, well, it doesn't really have very visible eyes, but on the subsequent one, the anglerfish, I've started, giving them bigger eyes, just because I just feel like with pixel art you gotta exaggerate something, so I like to exaggerate the eyes because I think it gives them more personality. Most of these fish don't have very large eyes. They live in the deep ocean. They don't need to see all that much. They kind of have small, glassy blue eyes. At least as far as the references I've been looking at. I think, yeah, the Gulper Eel has very small eyes, but here we've obviously given it pretty big eyes. Eyes as big as its mouth, basically. You can see at a certain point here, I had initially put the eyes in the wrong spot. They're actually so prominent in the actual fish that I had them way further back than they actually are in the fish. They're kind of right on the front. So you can see I just shifted over to the front. I think that makes it look a lot better, actually. Another thing I've been learning with this fish, this particular gulper eel, sort of the way that snakes and tails curve around. That's always been something I'm struggling with, so that was a focus of this eel, was to sort of learn how to do that, and I think I did an okay job of making it look, three-dimensional and how it curves around. It's tough shading. You'll see actually in the final version, I went in and I did a little more detail. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm not sure yet if I'm actually going to edit this and upload it, so if I do, well, you won't be seeing this if I don't, but if I do, I hope you enjoyed it.